Hi, everyone, and welcome. Today, I thought that I would talk a little bit about something that hasn't really occurred to me because it's been so obvious to me. But I will bring up the topic of sugar addiction and how you know whether you are addicted to sugar or if it's just a bad habit that you have. So, after my talk with Emily a week and a half ago, I realized that it might not be that obvious to everyone. And some people might just have a bad habit that they're more addicted to the habit of eating sugar or sugary things or refined carbohydrates rather than being addicted to the refined carbohydrates. And there is a difference because it's just a bad habit, which will still give you a dopamine hit, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's hard to quit sugar. So, just speaking for myself now, once I realized that I was addicted to sugar, it was like a huge rock had lifted off my chest. Somehow I wasn't just weak or didn't have any willpower. It was actually a real condition. So it's a thing that was hardwired in my brain and still is, and probably always will be because I've been practicing it so many times. My brain is obviously very susceptible to that type of addiction. So clearly, just knowing this didn't help my condition because I have known this for quite some time. But it did help me realize that there's so much more to it than just willpower. And with that, it's just a sort of relief. And if you're not addicted to sugar and you haven't realized this yet, you probably won't really understand what I'm talking about. But often we see people fighting for getting a diagnosis for a child or themselves or whatever it is. And it's just that recognition of, okay, now I know what it is. Now I know why this is. And it might be hard to relate to if it doesn't apply to you. But I thought that by sharing this, hopefully this information will be helpful to some of you and just, give you that sense of release. And we're going to have a look at well, I'm going to help you assess whether you are actually addicted to sugar or not and how bad it is in a little bit. So, as a sugar addict myself, it is really, really hard for me to understand how someone can just change their diet and then when they get rid of the physiological cravings, they're done with sugar. I understand why or how Emily could do that, but there's probably two parts to it. One part is that if she is transgressing, she's going to suffer so much physically, mentally, everything. So the negative reinforcement, you don't want to do it because the price is too high. For me, the price isn't too high. If I had to suffer that, would I be able to never touch sugar again? Who knows? I haven't tried because I don't have those conditions. And that is a blessing from one point of view, but from another, it would almost be good to have something that impacts my life so much that I can't touch sugar without knowing about it immediately. But that's not my case. That is most likely not the case for you or for most people watching this. So I personally don't understand how people can go through their lives not obsessing about sugar. I I do not understand how you can care so little about sugar that you're not thinking about it. Because to this day, every single day, it might not be as strong as it used to be, might not be as often as it used to be, but I do think about sugar every day. And it might be on good days, I might be thinking about it in a good way. So it might be that I'm just really happy and grateful that I'm not craving it so much. I'm really happy that I have my cravings under control. I'm really grateful that I learned how to deal with those cravings so that I'm not just building building up the pressure, and eventually I explode into some sort of binge eating. I'm really, really grateful that I have those tools because I haven't always had them. But on a bad day, I can have these feelings of life is unfair. Why is it that everyone else seems to be able to eat sugar without being addicted, which isn't true because a lot of you are? Why is it that it has to taste so nice and I can't do it? Why am I being punished in this way? That is not fair. Is life really worth living if I can't ever enjoy it? Which is totally irrational because there's so many things about life that I can enjoy. And when I'm having good days, I'm doing that. But on those bad days, I will have these thoughts still. Unfortunately, it's a process. And many people think that, you know, 3 weeks to quit sugar and then it's gone. It's not gone. We are addicted to sugar. It will take a while to actually get it under control. Give it 6 months, give it a year. It might take you longer. You might have a few relapses. It's all good. As long as you keep working towards actually quitting, and as long as you have a strong reason why you want to do it and you keep moving forward, you're taking little baby steps every day, you're good. So now when I'm having those bad days, I kind of know that it's an addiction talking because it's if my higher brain or my prefrontal cortex had to decide, I know that it would decide that I would never ever eat sugar again because sugar is totally unnecessary. It does nothing good for me or for anyone else. And all it has going for it is the taste. But even so, I remember the taste as something marvelous, something really delicious. But when you actually taste sugar, it doesn't taste that nice. It's not anything special. It's not as amazing as my brain thinks it is when you're actually paying attention to what it tastes like. Not that long ago, I had some marshmallow eggs. So they are like marshmallowy type of egg shaped things. Cadbury make them with some milk chocolate around. And I just bit into it. And first I thought, oh my god, this is amazing. But then in the first bite, I started feeling like, wow, this is sweet. This is overly sweet. This is just so sweet. I don't understand why I thought it was nice. But my brain still wanted me to have a second one, which I find totally fascinating because I've just discovered that it does not taste that nice. And still my brain says, oh, have another one. So I need to kind of pull myself back and be in control and say, hey, it doesn't taste nice. I know exactly what it's doing to my blood sugar, my insulin. It's not good for me in any way, and it's definitely not good from a sugar addiction standpoint. It will just reinforce my taste for sweet and me wanting to have more sweets and me continuing to eat more sweets when I am already doing it. So it didn't fulfill any sort of purpose for me, but it triggered my addiction straight away. It triggered my want and need to continue eating it, which is crazy. And if you're not a sugar addict, you probably don't really understand that. You might be one of those people who can have a bite of a marshmallow egg or a cookie and then put it away and you're done with it. Usually moms do that and they give it to the kids. And I've never understood that. I don't think I could ever do that. Even if it's too sweet, I'll be like, oh well, I started eating, I'm gonna eat the whole thing. So it's just pure brain pleasure and self-deception, I would say. And there are other things that can fill those spots, but that's not what I'm going to talk about today. Okay, so how do we know then whether we are sugar addicted or whether we just have a bad habit? Because I know so many people that are not addicted to sugar, but they just eat plenty of it. So they have their snacky little sugary granola bars because it curbs the hunger and maybe they have cravings of some sort. They taste nice, I suppose, and they're also quick and easy to grab when you just feel, oh, I need something, I need some energy or whatever. That's how we kind of are brought up nowadays to believe that's how we should be eating, which is totally wrong if you ask me. But that's generally how society is. At work, we have a lunch break. At least here, we have 2 coffee breaks or whatever you want to call them. They call them smokers here in New Zealand. So you have 3 in 8 hours. You have 3 breaks. What are you going to do on your breaks? Most people eat something. That's what they do. Now I'm working alone in my lab. I don't even take any breaks because if I need to just clear my mind, I can do that in there. Or I go to the gym, or I go to the beach, have a long lunch break. But I very rarely go and eat something at work. And I don't want to go and sit in the smoker room and just stare at the wall in case someone's not in there. So I suppose I could have a break and just chat to people if someone is in there. But you never know whether they are or not. So these people, they just eat out of habit. They have, let's say they have a 6-pack of these granola bars and they take them with them to work. So we're going to talk about this in a work situation. So I actually have a colleague that could probably do this. I had done something similar. So she would eat 1 bar, maybe have a little pot of yogurt with some fruit in because that is supposedly healthy. And that was her first break. And she has filled up a little bit. She's not hungry anymore. Done. If that was me, I would eat that 1 bar. I would eat the fruit and the yogurt. Then I would have another bar. And hopefully by then, no one would be there to watch me when I had my 3rd bar because that would start to get a little bit embarrassing. But I would probably have the 3rd bar whether someone was there or not. Then I would think to myself that since I have a 6-pack of these bars, I can leave 3 for later or for tomorrow even. But I would have already started my cravings, so I would probably find an excuse to go back and just have a quick bite, have 1 bar, and then think like, oh well, I have 2 for tomorrow, and then I will have another one. Oh, now it's just 1 left. Why not have that one too? And I would just eat them all. That's probably what would happen with me. That's how I work with anything that is sweet. Even if I don't think that granola bars taste very nice, I don't even know if I've eaten one, but any type of bars, they taste okay, but they're not quite sugar. They're not cookies or ice cream that I really, really like. I would still do it because it's still carbohydrates, it's still sugar, and that still triggers that behavior in me. So by now you have probably already, got a sense of whether you are addicted to sugar or if you just have a bad habit. But there are a few questions that you can ask yourself. The American Psychiatric Association has a tool that they use that when they assess addictions, and it's called DSM-5 if you want to look that up. So that is the 5th edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. So this tool doesn't officially recognize sugar as one of the addictions, but they're using it for a broad range of addictions. And the reason they're not using that for sugar is because sugar is not recognized as something that you can be addicted to because it is classified as food. So we're going to use it anyway. So I'm going to show you this. These are the 11 questions that I want you to ask yourself. And do it with me while we go through this, and I will share my score with you, and you can just take some notes and measure your own score and see where you get at. So let me just share this screen with you, and here we go. So the first question is, do you eat sugar and or refined carbohydrates more often than you would like to? So how often do you want to eat it and how often do you eat it? Is there a discrepancy there? And is that always caused by you on the fly deciding that you want more carbs than or sugar than you should have, or that you actually ideally wanted to eat? Second one is, Have you unsuccessfully tried to cut back or quit eating sugar or refined carbs? Basically, have you tried to quit sugar and been unsuccessful at doing so ever? I think most people would answer yes to that one, and that's kind of normal. But for us sugar addicts, we might be trying to quit sugar every day, and I'll start tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes and you don't feel up for it because you really crave sugar and you think I'll do it tomorrow. And then when you actually do it, it doesn't take you that long to fall back in. So the third one, do you have ongoing cravings to eat or drink sugar and or refined carbohydrates? So basically the question is, do you have cravings for sugar or refined carbohydrates that you feel like you need to respond to, so that you have to kind of give in to those cravings? Do you ever have those? Number 4, do you binge on sweet foods after having taken them out of your diet? So this is a problem that we would see in, just quitting sugars. This happened to me all the time when I tried to eat healthily on like a medium carb paleo diet, for example. There was just too many carbs for me to be able to handle this because the carbs in diet were triggering me, and the psychological aspect, my addiction, was triggering it. But even on a ketogenic diet, I can be successful for quite some time, and then I think, oh my god, now it's really time for me to have a treat. And then one treat is not just one treat. Why, if I'm having an exception, why would I just have one chocolate bar? Why not have a chocolate bar and ice cream and cookies and everything? So that's pretty much a sugar binge. So number 5, I think. Do you constantly have to eat more sugar or refined carbohydrates to feel satisfied? So this is basically building up tolerance. The kick that you get the first time from a certain amount is not the kick that you're going to get the second time from the same amount, etc. And that is ongoing. So the longer that you're eating it, the more you need. So this is definitely the case for me. I know for sure if I have, they have these little 30 to 50 gram chocolate bars that they sell. And some people are totally happy to eat them. I can't do that because it just triggers my cravings even more. So I feel worse after eating that little than I did before eating it at all, because now I'm just in the spin and I just want more and more and more, so that I can get this satisfaction out of it that I initially wanted with. That's what I wanted to have by eating the chocolate, and now I'm not getting it. I'm just getting a third of it or less. So number 6, do you spend more time than you like recovering from the consequences of your sugar consumption? So whatever this is for me, I'm thinking for me personally, this has a lot to do with my physiological symptoms, I guess. So I get very tired. I need a lot more sleep. I probably don't sleep as good, especially if I haven't been eating a lot of sugar late. And eventually I will get headaches, and it takes a few days for me to get those headaches. So I need to eat sugar for a few days before that happens most of the time. But once I start getting them, they will kind of linger. Even if I'm eating well, they will probably stay there for a couple of days or 3. So it's a delayed response, which is a shame because I would like to be punished immediately so that I can stop it immediately. But I can't stop it immediately. So if, let's say I'm eating sugar for 3 days and then I might get headache for 2 or 3 days, even if I'm eating good on my first day of having the headache. So is it worth it? Absolutely not. But when I'm eating it, I always think I can get away with it, and I can't. Number 7. Have you noticed that you spend a significant amount of time, energy, or money in making sure that you get your sugar fix? So this could be things like crazy stuff, like you are driving to the petrol station at 2 a.m. to get some chocolate, or what I said when I was talking to Emily, that I've been baking chocolate cakes at like 2 a.m. because I couldn't sleep and I had such cravings. So that is obviously taking time and energy. Not necessarily a lot of money, but sometimes I this is quite funny. I can't remember how old I was. Maybe I was 13 or something, like 12, 13. And I can't even remember the amount, but I got my mom into paying me for being sugar free for a month. So I used all my money that I would normally go and buy some sweets with. I used all this money and I went and I bought all the sweets that I would normally have bought. I put them in a drawer and then I binged on that when I was done. That's crazy. So instead of saving that money, I just, you know, I kept doing my normal behavior of buying it and putting it in the drawer. And I was really good because I didn't touch it. And then I actually got my money. Now I lost count, so I think it's number 7 or number 8. So when you cut it out, when you cut sugar out, or processed carbohydrates, whichever it is that you have a problem with, do you experience withdrawal symptoms like headaches, irritability, shaking, massive cravings, and so on? Do you get any of those? If you do, then that is a yes. I think you probably do. So let's move on to the next one. Let's say this is number 9. Do you feel out of control with the quantity of sweet foods that you consume? So I think I've just told you that if I decide to have one chocolate bar and I have built up my tolerance so that one chocolate bar is not giving me the dopamine hit that I want or need, I am going to eat more. And I was just telling you about the marshmallow egg. My brain will want me to keep eating them. So yes, for me this is a big yes. I feel like I'm out of control with the quantity of the foods that I'm currently eating. If there is more, and if there isn't more, I will want more most of the time, depending on how much I have initially. So yes. Number 10, do you continue to eat processed refined carbs despite knowledge a persistent physical or psychological problem that is either caused by or made worse by the consumption of sugar or junk foods? So this will be the case with my headache, for example, which is caused by the sugar, but I keep eating it. As in terms for Emily that I spoke to a week and a half ago, if she continued eating it despite getting bipolar or getting her MS back, she would say yes to this. So whatever symptoms you either get as an effect from sugar, as in it causing it, or it just kind of making it worse. So she clearly has MS. It's under the surface. She doesn't have any symptoms or problems, but as soon as she transgresses, it comes up to the surface. So this is probably not caused by the sugar, but it's being made worse by sugar. I'm just assuming that she will get this if she ate sugar. I don't know that. But for me, with my headaches, they're definitely caused by the sugar. Indirectly, probably in terms of messing with my insulin, etc. I don't know. So number 11, have you ever skipped social events or other things that you like to do just to stay at home and eat sugar or refined carbs? So sometimes you're invited to events, whatever that might be, or being invited over for dinner and you think, oh my god, I'm gonna have to sit there all night and I can't eat my cake in public. Don't want to do that. Nah, I'm just gonna say no. I'd rather just sit at home with my ice cream. Or even if it is things like you used to enjoy doing other things, but now you might choose to just sit at home and binge rather than doing something else that you know that you enjoyed in the past, because now you can't enjoy it because you're addicted to sugar. Basically, you all you want to do is feed that addiction. So let's see if this was 11. No, yes, it was. So now let's have a look at what your score is. So my score, believe it or not, is 9. So I'm a pretty bad case. I don't think I am the worst affected person on earth, but I was almost surprised at seeing that I actually scored a 9 on here, because I knew it was bad, but I was thinking about people that are worse. So I mean, there are people who are 11s, I'm not quite there, thank God. And obviously, I'm just talking about what's been going on in my past, but this will be with me for my whole life probably. And these are things that I have done or how I have felt about it. So if you have 3, you probably have a mild substance use disorder. And if you're having 2, they kind of want to count that in as well. But I would say, some of these things are just things that you say yes to, even though you might just do it as a habit because you think that that is the reason. So I want to put it at 3. If you are getting 4 or 5 yeses, you have a mild substance use disorder. But if you get 6 or more, you're actually classified as having a severe substance use disorder. And so I am a severe sugar addict, I guess. Hopping out of here. And as such, this will always be with me. And I'm accepting that. I don't have a choice. This is just how it is. I'm just so grateful that I have tools to deal with it now. And this year is all about teaching myself to not wanting the sugar. So far, I haven't been, I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't been massively successful, and I might not need to sit down and refocus and actually put more focus on it because I included more things in my goals for this year, which I'm tend to focus on a little bit more. So my focus hasn't been quite right. And that is probably partly because of my lower brain that doesn't really want me to do that. Because sugar tastes nice, doesn't it? So for your sake, I'm hoping that you score a lot less than me. But nonetheless, I know how hard it is to deal with all of these symptoms, pretty much, apart from 2 of them. But I just want to say that there is hope, there are ways of doing it. Just don't give up, keep moving forward. And if you need to have a break because you feel like it's just overwhelming, just do it. There's nothing worse than trying to force yourself to do something that you're not ready to do. So just keep your eye on the goal, keep taking baby steps, even if it's just like a tiny, tiny thing one day, it's all good. So that was all. Please let me know if you have found this video useful. Leave me a comment with your score. I would be very interested to see what sort of scores we get out there. I'd really appreciate your feedback as well, and I want to create videos that you find useful. So if you found it useful, let me know. And if you don't, you can tell me that as well. I know that some of you you're not sugar addicted, and you might not have found this useful. But if you are, let me know. Until next time, take care. Bye.